the last few videos, we have seen various types of financial ratios using information from the balance sheet and income statement. In this video, we will relate a company's return on equity to measures of profitability, activity, and solvency ratios. This will help us identify what the company is doing correctly and what it needs to improve. We will also talk about one stock market price based financial ratio. The DuPont Identity gets its name from DuPont Corporation, which began using this idea from the early 1920s. It relates a company's return on equity to various financial ratios. It is easy to see what these financial ratios are. We start off with return on equity, which is defined as net income divided by average shareholders' equity. Let's multiply and divide by both revenue and average total assets. Net income divided by revenue is net profit margin, which is a profitability ratio. Revenue divided by average total assets is total asset turnover, which is an activity ratio. Average total assets divided by average shareholders' equity is called the equity multiplier and is a measure of the company's solvency. High values of equity multiplier tell us that the company has high levels of debt and low levels of equity. We now have ROE equals net profit margin times total asset turnover times equity multiplier. This helps us attribute a company's low or high ROE to various factors measured by these three financial ratios. Let's take a look at Amazon's ROE for 2015. Earlier, we calculated it to be 4.94% in 2015. Its net profit margin was 0.56% and its total asset turnover was 1.78. Amazon's average shareholders' equity and average total assets were $12.06 billion and $59.97 billion respectively. Dividing $59.97 billion by $12.06 billion gives us Amazon's equity multiplier to be 4.97. You can verify that multiplying the net profit margin of 0.56%, the total asset turnover of 1.78, and the equity multiplier of 4.97 gives us the ROE of 4.94%. Amazon's ROE has improved over the last 4 years. Why is this? During this time, its net profit margin has increased, which tells us that Amazon is doing a better job of controlling its expenses, leading to higher profits. However, efficiency has decreased as its total asset turnover has decreased over the last few years. Another reason for its higher ROE is that its equity multiplier has increased, which means it borrowed more capital than raising equity capital. Increasing borrowing is not necessarily good, as it increases the chance of a company not paying off the loans on time. The last part of financial statement analysis in this course is measuring a company's value from its financial statements relative to its current stock price. There are a number of such ratios, but we are going to talk only about the price to earnings PE ratio here. One way to calculate PE ratio is to use the EPS from the most recent income statement. The PE ratio is defined as the market price for the company's shares on the date of the income statement divided by the EPS. The PE ratio tells us how much investors are willing to pay for each dollar of profits the company makes. One way of interpreting the PE ratio is that it tells us what the future growth potential for the company is. Higher the PE ratio, larger is its future potential. However, very high ratios compared to its competitors or the rest of the market is indicative of the stock being overpriced. Let's calculate the PE ratio for Amazon. For this, we need Amazon's stock price as of December 2015. We get these prices from Yahoo Finance. As of December 31st, 2015, Amazon's stock price was $675.89. We can calculate the PE ratio using both basic as well as diluted EPS. For simplicity, we will use the basic EPS of $1.28. Dividing the share price of $675.89 by the EPS of $1.28 gives an EPS of 528.04. For each $1 in profits earned, investors are willing to pay $528.04. This could mean that investors place a very high value on Amazon's future growth potential. Alternatively, Amazon's stock price is far higher than what its fundamentals justify and should be sold. In 2 of the past 4 years, Amazon has had negative PE ratios. It is impossible to interpret a negative PE ratio as it does not make any sense as to why investors would be willing to pay anything for a company that is making losses. This brings us to the end of the financial statements and analysis part of this course. Next time, we will start looking at one of the key building blocks of finance, namely time value of money.